For those of you who've clicked on this video, the universe definitely has a calling for you. There is a spiritual message, there is a spiritual something, because there is no other reason to click and be interested in this video if there wasn't something that you were aligned with within it. Now, this isn't going to be a typical video like my normal ones where I explain how to do certain things. This is me taking you through my spiritual awakening journey and how it made me the conscious manifester that I am now, changing things in my life bit by bit and literally making it everything I've wanted to be from the inside out. Now, for those of you who have been here for a while, you'll know my thing is not to be esoteric. I don't want to be ethereal and make it all on faith and anything that's unsubstantial as like a reason to pursue this. I make spirituality practical, and that's the whole point of this video, to take you through what happened in my spiritual awakening, how it made me a conscious manifester, and how you can apply the same thing in your life based on what you're going through. If you don't want to miss out on that, on going through understanding how to actually take these really powerful concepts and making them practical in your life so that you can actually manifest, not like this whole, oh yeah, okay, that's close but not close enough. I'm talking about conscious manifestation, literally pulling things into your world, into your life, the way you want them. Then don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss that type of video. And like I said, in this video, I'm going to take you through how I got from a spiritual awakening all the way to becoming a conscious manifester. And there are things in between. And not all of them are pleasant. But essentially the way it started was through shadow work, unintentional shadow work. And what is shadow work? It's basically processing and accepting the parts of you don't actually prefer. Now for me, what that was how I was manipulative to people. I'm great at talking, and back before my awakening, I was good at sales. I was also good at getting people to do what I wanted. But at the end of the story of being a manipulative person, the shadow work was the realization of the parts of me that I do not prefer, that within me I don't want to be anymore. Now, I would always get my way, so it was easy to manipulate people. And I would always structure an argument in such a way that nobody could argue back and win. That was how I processed life. I would literally just go through winning like that. Now, I was getting what I wanted ultimately out of it. Maybe it was the way a girl would behave to me, and things could go my way, if you know what I mean by that. It could have been through friendships and them choosing to watch the movie I wanted to watch, or we sleep at the house that I felt like sleeping at, or we take the car that I wanted to take. I used to do this all the time, and in all honesty, it was based on fear. Now, shadow work is processing that part of you don't prefer, and that is always governed by fear. Fear is the foundation for everything that is ego. It's the entire identity that isn't your spiritual true self. And a nice way to look at it is it's everything temporary. So if we look at this human definition, like who I identify as a human, that's temporary. So is everybody else's. This is life, and no one gets out alive. The way that this happened was through this deep sense of hatred of my life, being a victim. My cousin passed away, then my girlfriend and I had a terrible breakup, then it was a pandemic and I was all alone. The universe gave me an exact reflection of that point of how I was feeling. And that was when I realized that the universe doesn't treat you as anything less than full and perfect. And a full and perfect being saying, I want to experience what it's like to be a victim, and the universe being the perfect servant says, sure, here's what it looks like. But how do we actually ask the universe for that reflection? We have to be it in ourselves. So if you want to know how to pray, if you want to know how to shift your world around you, change who you are, change what you are. If you're going to define yourself as the fearful victim with an ego who manipulates people, I'm not saying that that's for every single one of you, but that was me, then I was going to get a reflection of a manipulative person. How? Through people manipulating me. Through always being like kind of pressured into a position I didn't want to be in, because that's what I was doing to other people. For girls, it was treating me like I wasn't worth it, because what am I saying by needing to manipulate them to come home with me that night? I'm saying I'm only worth it if I can convince you I am. So then all the girls that I met in my life needed me to convince them that I was worth it. Becoming a conscious manifester and the journey to that meant dealing with that ego, doing the shadow work, processing the things about myself and accepting those things that I did not prefer. And that this world is going to show it to me as in the best way that it can. And the way that it does that is by making everything a reflection of what you are and the way you treat other people and the way you treat yourself most of all. If you believe in yourself, and this is, by the way, how you treat yourself, You believe in things. If you believe that you are a victim, if you believe that you are a wounded soldier, that you just have to power on and everything is difficult, the universe will gladly serve that wish and give it to you. That's what you wanted. We'll give you a scenario to do that. When I changed that and I decided that I am of value, I'm worth it the way I am, that's when the outside world said, okay, cool. Here's a situation in which you are actually worth it. And if this is all making sense so far and ringing some bells, hit that like button. I want to know how many of you are resonating with this point of being able to accept the part of you you don't actually prefer. And once you embrace that and pull it in and just go, I'm going to nurture it, kind of like forgiving. You know, when you forgive somebody for doing something bad to you and you're like, it's okay, I accept the apology. I truly am not going to hold it against you anymore. When you stop holding you against yourself and you nurture that part and go, let's just go to a good dinner, like with your friend. Let's just go and have a good dinner, have something to drink and catch up and let it all go. That feeling of surrendering to it and just being like, let's just take it from here kind of thing. And you do that with yourself. Let's take it from here. It's okay. I forgive me for not being perfect. That forgiveness is what is going to translate into a change of self. So you can then, only once you've done that, by the way, only once you've gone through the shadow work, accepted that part of you is being reflected through this world and it's not necessarily things you like, and you nurture that, can you then let it go? Once you forgive, let it go, you can then change what you think about yourself. And that's what happened to me. I then changed what I believed about myself. I just decided that I am worth it. I'm the only one who understands how I want to be loved. And why can't I then give myself that love that I want from someone else? And it's kind of like, well, cool concept, but how do you do that? For me, it was literally just going into an imaginative space and imagining being with the perfect partner who made me feel that way. And then I realized I don't need to leave feelings in the imagination. I'm allowed to pull the feelings into my current state of self now, because why not? Why leave good feelings in the imagination? It's like a waste. And when you start pulling those feelings in and going, okay, I accept this as my new identity, and you really believe in this and you solidify it within your own mind and heart and go, this is me, I am deeply loved. And you feel that because you're the one supplying that love, so it's true to you. That's when the world starts shifting. Then people come into your life to reflect that reality to you, and they will be deeply loving of you because that's how it shifts. You've decided to love yourself. And think about it in a more practical way. If you know how to love yourself, you then know what to accept and not accept because you know what your worth is to yourself. So you won't accept someone being rude to you. It's not that you're going to go and knock them out. It's not like you're going to go and physically attack them as a consequence. But within you and yourself, you go, hold on, I wouldn't treat myself this way, and I quite like when I love myself, so I'm not going to let you do it. And that realization is where those people start leaving your life because they aren't fitting this new identity. On a more ethereal level, is you are raising your frequency to that of your authentic self, which is the highest of frequencies, the most fulfilled, loved, joyful experience you could have. You are an experience at heart. So when you experience yourself, you will not ever feel that feeling in any other way. Not through other people, not through getting things you really want. Like I told you, I was exceptionally manipulative. Those things don't make you feel the way you want to feel. They don't solve the problems. And for a long time, I thought that's what would happen. If only I could have this computer, I could do this work because my other one's so slow. Then I get the computer and I wasn't even doing the work anymore. But the computer's cool, but it's not quite what I needed then. But I really wanted it. So you see, this whole idea of if I get what I want, I'll be happy is not the solution. Even a relationship. The solution is realizing that happiness is a choice inside of you. And the entire chemical reaction of happiness that you experience in your own mind is a concoction made up in your own brain. And then think about how silly this is. Then we assign people in our lives to be the button presser for that chemical compound we make in our brain. Oh, well, this is the person I love, so if they love me back, I'll feel the way I want to feel. It's illusionary that this world, people, places, and things are ever going to make you feel the way you want to feel. But you can, because you're the only one who knows what that is, in your imagination. Think about it. If you're fighting with your partner because they don't make you feel the way you want to feel, well, you definitely know what you want to feel then, because it's not that. And the best part about this realization is you can make yourself feel that way. You can say, cool, what does it feel like in my imagination to have the person of my dreams treating me the way I want to be treated? And the car the bank account number, the house, like everything. If you had to think about yourself in the perfect scenario, in your imagination, it will tell you what it's like in the form of a feeling. Now, if you onboard that feeling now and just decide that that's your state of self, regardless of the outside world, then you get everything that you've ever wanted without having to worry about the insurance of it, worry about the protection of this, or whatever it is. The world has a 50-50 split. This place is yin and yang. Now, spiritually, you're all yin. You're all complete. You're all fulfilled. But because this earth is split half-half, there's a lesson and a gift in everything. So when you get the car that you've dreamed of how it would be, if you could finally rock up in that M3 or whatever it is, and you're like, everyone would see me this way and this, it's really a great concept. And when you do manifest the car, it's awesome to drive, it's awesome to experience, but you can't do 200 miles an hour because the cops are going to catch you. Then you're going to have to pay a big fine. You can't just go and park anywhere in the parking lot because someone might scrape the front of it. Then it's the headache of having to take the car in, get it resprayed and fixed, and then insurance, and then excess, and then it reduces the value of the car. This world has the potential to do that as well. And the version of you that has to deal with those consequences is this human, fleshly, temporary version of you. The permanent, soulful version of you is fulfilled. And the realization of all of this, when these things start connecting dots in your head, is the spark, it is the ignition of the spiritual awakening or a further spiritual concept. What started happening after I went through this process of like, these things don't have meaning, and if I get them, I have to worry about them as well as enjoy them. That's a hell of a headache. That's too much responsibility. What if I just onboarded the feelings as they are in my imagination and said, that's me? That was far more than enough for me. It was more than I even felt I deserved at the time. But then realizing the fact that I could feel them is the very act of deserving them in itself. That was indicative of my worth, because now I'm worthy of feeling really intense emotions, and that you can't be worthy of more than that, right? So being worthy of a partner that you can fully experience because you have the emotional capacity to, must mean you are worthy. So this world, if you're questioning your worth in this world, that is never going to lead you to anything. This world's worth is zero because it's equally balanced. So it may be worth $1 million to someone and then negative $1 million to someone else, just like having a really cool car or having a crashed version of that car. So this is the point, is because this place is yin and yang, it's telling us that its worth is whatever we make it. It's zero by nature. We add its worth. So in my spiritual awakening, I shifted. That's what the awakening was for me, was a shift in that worth. It wasn't about things, people, and places anymore. It was about the feeling I was trying to achieve by having them. And then when I just onboarded that feeling and I shifted it internally, it didn't matter what happened on the outside world anymore. Because within me and my authentic self, I was feeling the way I wanted to feel. And then what that is, and I only realized this later, this is where it turns into manifestation. All the things I wanted started coming into my life because I said, this is what I am. And because this universe wants to give you a reflection of what you are, not what you want, becoming what I wanted, which is the feeling. Ultimately, if you were to define yourself as something, you are a feeling, you are an experience. So when I defined myself as this experience, as this feeling, the things I wanted that I thought were going to make me happy started to come in, because this place is just a mirror. So it had to reflect that internal state of self. And what that was, and like I say in a lot of my videos, this world consists of 3 things, right? People, places, and things. Now, people, places, and things are all that are here, and that's what we ultimately want to feel the way we want to feel. So we want those 3 things. For me, I got all 3 of them. I got my ex back. Her and I, like I said, were broken up for a while. It was 1.5 years throughout COVID. I was alone, like alone. And we had no contact. And then 2 weeks after deciding to feel the feeling of being in love again, she came back. She messaged me out of her own. There was no push from my end. She asked if we could go out and we could go have a milkshake and catch up. And she said to me at that date, she was like, I want to get back together. I made a big mistake not coming back and making this work with you. And it wasn't actually a mistake. It was the best gift ever, because I had had this experience and I knew how to value her now, because it wasn't about her making me feel a certain way. I did that for myself. And that allowed me to see her for what she was, which is a beautiful individual. So that's the person. Next was the place. Like, I'm a musician. As you can see behind me, piano, guitar. I've got a few instruments. I'm a vocalist. I wanted to be in Hollywood. Where better for a musician than Hollywood? And I'm all the way from little old South Africa at the bottom of the world. I then got an opportunity to go perform in Los Angeles, and I went to the Anaheim Convention Center and I performed and I won. I was voted the best male vocalist out of all of these international people at this conference. So I got to then do this thing, I would be where I wanted to be. And that was singing on stage in Hollywood, in Los Angeles. And I eventually did that, along with red carpet events, people taking photos, interviews. Then New York City, and I was performing in Times Square, doing interviews. And I got the place, which was, I suppose, less physical and literal than figurative, but I wanted to actually be there, and I was physically there. And then I was all over there doing what I wanted to do, pursuing my music. And then a thing that I really wanted was a 6-cylinder BMW. It's just something, I love cars, I'm huge into cars, and I wanted a 6-cylinder BMW. Not because of how cool it looked, because I like the sound, I like the feeling of driving these cars. And it wasn't 2 months before I walked into a dealership, and by chance they had this car. I wasn't even coming to look at this car, I was actually just going to go and take a look at the new 1 Series, which I couldn't afford. And they happened to have this exact model that I wanted. In fact, it was one better than the one I wanted. The deal was set up so perfectly, I couldn't have bought an entry-level car for the price I got my dream car, my first dream car. So the who, the what, the where all came in that shift. That's how I became a conscious manifester. So it was literally by feeling the feeling I wanted to feel, by knowing that was my identity, then the universe gave those things to me, like almost as if they were put on the path for me. Then everything kind of crashed. And for a long while, I was struggling. I was struggling to get back to that powerful place. Now, this was nearly 4 years ago because it happened during COVID. And the way that I got back to it is probably more exciting than the awakening itself. If you don't want to miss how to process the crash, if you're there right now, I know what it feels like. Hit me up in the comments. I respond to every one of them, so I'll chat to you about it. But in Friday's video, I'm going to be taking you through the crash, explaining how to process it, what's actually happening spiritually, and how to evolve past it so you can get back to that conscious manifesting phase. I really hope to see you all on Friday, and if you don't want to miss that video, subscribe to the channel to be notified on Friday when that video comes out. Thanks so much for watching to this point. I look forward to your comments. Until then, mad love and light.